Teachers of Reddit, what do you know about your students that they think you don't know? I know some of their names. Well, look at you. You've already surpassed my dad. I was a TA to the same teacher for 4 years in high school. I was really uptight at the time and asked her why she didn't mind when this same dude left class every single day with a pass for at least 20 minutes. My teacher said it was because he was making out with his girlfriend in the stairwell closet, and so help her God if I interrupted them because she was the best he was ever going to get. Teachers know your crap, man. That teacher is a heck of a bro. I teach high school kids in a small town, and one of my students, just this total sweetheart, wonderful girl, is dating the scariest guy I have ever seen. Huge dude, lots of tattoos and piercings, way older than her, drives a souped up Deathmobile around town. That kind of thing. Just all around a sketchy dude. It's big school gossip. Everybody knows and talks about it all the time. This student definitely enjoys the attention and always drops hints about what a bad boy he is. Late one night, on a school night, I pulled into a convenience store parking lot to pick up a few things and notice his car there. They walk out of the store together and get back in the car with ice cream. He picked her up from school and bought her ice cream, and they were just sitting in his car being adorable and sweet. When I got out of my car to go into the store, I could hear that they were listening to show tunes. Best part, we ended up driving out of the parking lot at the same time, and the guy spotted me, rolled down his window, and gave me the friendliest "Hi, Ms. My gargantuan pony ever." I briefly dated a guy like this in HS. Covered in tattoos, looked 35, LOL. Everyone thought he was a narc or in a motorcycle gang. Ended up being in a LARP group for 10 years. Lived at home with his grandmother, whom he took care of, and taught me how to fix my car. My parents really liked him and our friends got along. He ended up moving away to California for college. He was awesome. Johnny thinks he's gangster. Johnny is not gangster. The amount of crap I overhear is ridiculous. I know which of my students hosts all the parties, and who made out and or hooked up with whom at said parties. I know who does drugs. I know who does drugs and doesn't think that the teachers know they do drugs. I know that one of my students gives terrible BJs to a student in another one of my classes. I know who cheats on everything. Sometimes it's the goody two shoes kids. I know that at least 3 students have agreed that they would totally tap that, meaning me. They think I'm oblivious. I have excellent hearing. I'd totally tap you. High school teacher. Here, I know 2 kids who are drug dealers. I know several kids who showed up out of their minds to homecoming after chasing Molly with coke. I also know that at least 2 of our seniors have herpes. Bringing back the memories of senior year. I'm not currently teaching, but when I was a student teacher, what I was surprised to find out right away, and all you who are still in school should know this, is how easy it is to tell when you're being lied to. I mean, teenagers are terrible at lying. I absolutely knew when I was being bullshitted. But here's the thing, kids, if they don't call you out on your lie, it's not because you succeeded in being convincing. It's because you're probably the 50th person that day to do so, and it's seriously just not worth the effort over something small. This one girl would ask to go to the bathroom almost every day to see her boyfriend, who had a different lunch than she did. She'd usually be gone only 5 or 10 minutes, so I frequently let her do so. I used to do exactly the same thing in school, so I know how it is. She did her work, so she earned my discretion on that case. Pro tip: if you give, you get. Put in the effort, and you will have bargaining chips. Also, I just want you guys who are still in school to know this. Your teachers know how to keep a professional distance, but they are not robots, and they are not blind. They see what's going on with you, and they care. I cried at least once a week over my students. I only taught for a short time, and now, 2 years later, I remember all my students' names, would recognize them on sight, and remember who made me cry. I know who has the parties, who hooks up with who does drugs, family probs, etc. Hard not to know when you teach high school. I teach kindergarten, so I basically know everything because 5-year-olds have no filters. My favorite piece of sneaky knowledge is when kids have to poop. Pre-poop farts are the worst. I work in my school's office helping out the ladies with office things. They will judge you and make comments about you just like the rest of the students will. Like, what is that girl wearing? Lord have mercy, or did you see the size of that kid? It's scary. They also just know things, like when you're high, or trying to hide your pregnancy. Lord have mercy. Well, we know she's been south of the Mason-Dixon. That they are in gangs, and which gangs they are in. Really, you ask to borrow a pen, but you don't want to write with the one I give you because it's blue. You can't sit in a blue chair, but you're not in a gang. Now, it is actually really sad. I've only been teaching for 5.5 years and 2 of my former students have already been killed in gang-related shootings. Teacher here, I've had this happen too. You forgot to mention the gang kid that won't write a B or a C on a multiple choice test because it corresponds to their opposing gang. I had a year I remember when the gang kids, big blood area, would put a line through their C's to disrespect the C's on their tests. Gangs are so freaking stupid. Teachers seem to be the only profession that actually shows up to their relevant Reddit threads. Is this what you guys are doing when you turn the class loose for work time? You're forgetting teachers don't have the 9-5 schedule most other people have. Also, sometimes in my homeroom class I will tell them some things from the till sub to keep them entertained. Piano teacher here. I can't tell if you've practiced or not. Hep, good thing none of my teachers go on Reddit. Oh god, what if one of my teachers goes on Reddit? What if they know about your kinky P subs? I'm a high school teacher and have a class Twitter that my students can follow for homework updates, links to presentations, quizzes, etc. I told my students, don't ask me to follow you on Twitter because I won't. Not only do I not have the time to read your tweets, there are some things I just do not want to know. Your personal lives are one of them. I lied. After about 40 students followed, I went and snooped on every single one of their profiles and read all of their tweets. So much regret. So much. One thing I know for sure is when my students are high. I have smoked quite a bit back in the day, and therefore know all the symptoms and lingo. I totally frick with them when they are stoned, not only because it is hilarious but also in hopes to discourage them from smoking before coming to school. If I know it becomes a problem with any of them, then I will have the serious discussion about how you may not remember what you and your buddies talked about all those times when you were high, but you will sure as heck remember whether or not you passed my class. But for the most part, the stoners don't come to class high too often and wait until after school. Teachers have huge amounts of access to students' information. We gossip more than students do. We know everything. Who hooked up with who on camp the weekend in the holidays. We know about makeups, breakups and everything in between. We know who smokes, who is doing drugs and who is getting up to mischief. We know kids' sexual gender orientation. Sometimes before they do. It's mostly just from listening in class. Kids seem to think that teachers can't hear personal conversations or that we don't pay any mind to them. We do. Working at a high school is like living on the set of a soap opera. I still can't believe how devastated I was when my favorite couple of 2012 broke up. It was torturous. I work in an elementary school with second graders. One thing I noticed is who has crushes on who. It's funny to watch. I told one boy that it's obvious you like each other, just don't let it affect your schooling. Also, I don't pry into the kids' lives, but if they want to share with me their troubles, I'm fine with that and supportive. One thing I noticed is who has crushes on who. It's funny to watch. I've always wondered if elementary school teachers can tell which kids are gay. My nephew is gay and he said he started to realize it around that age. College Tay here. I know when they're on Facebook, Reddit, Pinterest, and not actually taking notes on their laptops. I also know they work together on Blackboard exams. Everyone who teaches knows these things. As long as you're learning, I don't care if you space out or cheat. I wish you wouldn't, but there's very little I can do without alienating you and thus making you even less likely to want to learn something. On the flip side, it makes it even easier to spot the really good students, which can totally include the kid who scrolls through Facebook the whole class. Whoa, just realized that college students these days all probably have laptops out to take notes. Crazy. My boyfriend is an elementary school teacher and he says that he knows way more about students' personal lives than they think. Like, their parents tell him their problems with poverty, immigration and stuff. Meanwhile, some of the kids are like, I went to Cabo for summer break on my parents' private jet and he's just like, awesome. Why don't you write a journal entry about it? At least he's a good sport about it. Seems like a nice enough guy. I'd be like Cabo, more like Tawana Jajajajaja. As a student, I was close with a student teacher at the time and I liked a boy and he told me to not go for him because he had gotten in trouble before with child pee and drugs. No idea how he knew that. When I teach undergrads it's painfully obvious which ones are dating each other. Even if it's a secret, I recently taught a required course for freshmen, and one of my students would give me outlandish excuses for not having been in class. He had a breakup, 2 dead relatives, and was flown across the world to save his family business, all in one semester. Oddly enough, his work was pretty good. I had to sit him down and explain that I really didn't care where he had been as long as he was showing up to reviews with completed projects, and that a long-winded explanation was unnecessary. The look on this teenager's face when I told him I'm going to be out today was perfectly reasonable. Priceless. As for when I'm teaching graduate students, I definitely do know hardly any of you have read the material beyond a thesis statement, unless you're PhD students sitting in on a master's level seminar. In that case, I do know that you love the sound of your own voice more than Frank Reynolds loves rum ham. So shut up, you're ruining the class for the people who actually need it. Inner city middle school teacher here. I know everything my students gossip about during class. No, not because I have supersonic teacher ears, as many of my students suspect. No, not because that smoke detector in the corner is actually a camera, as I convinced them of early in the year. It's because kids can't whisper worth a crap. Also, privacy settings. Seriously, kids, use them. Not to mention, those kids I had in class 2 years ago who come by my classroom to visit and shoot the crap every day after school. Yeah, they keep me more in the loop than most of the students. Sometimes it pays to be the cool teacher. Hearing middle school gossip is more of a curse than a blessing. After a few years, kids will always have the same problems that we've all faced and gotten over. I understand your jokes, I just pretend that I don't. When I was a student I would marvel at how my teachers could fail to understand the brilliant sexual innuendo I would use that would have my classmates snickering while they, the instructor, looked on without comprehending. Now I hear 18-year-old girls in my classes make the same kinds of comments, and as a 36-year-old dude my brain immediately begins flashing warning lights and sirens. So I play really dumb, because I'm just not going to go there. Who's dating whom? They think they're discreet, but they're not. What their home situations are like. Who's undocumented. Who has diagnosed suspected learning differences and or disabilities. Generally how well liked or disliked they are by other students and teachers. And a variety of other things, depending on the student. All teachers who are remotely in touch with their kids know all this stuff. Most know to keep it a secret and some don't. Your students are all discreet. Well, they may not be discreet. I'm younger so they tell me a lot they probably shouldn't. Like I know if you're freaking. The good stuff comes from the notes they drop on the floor. It hurt my clit. That was a gem. Okay, I'm gonna be the not a teacher commenter, but a friend of mine briefly taught a student where we knew his parents were actually his grandparents. We both knew his brother, really his uncle, and knew the whole story. Both his parents were teen parents, and his dad, who he thinks is also his brother, passed away when he was an infant. His mother couldn't care less about him. The parents' grandparents never had the heart to tell him. Apparently, the kid's a real sweetie, too. So I kind of hope he never finds out he's a little too old for this to go over well now. At least not without a lot of therapy. She definitely isn't the only teacher to know though. Most people in the town know about his real mom and dad. So I think he'll find out eventually. Crap like this doesn't stay hidden. That they think I have hearing loss or something. I hear everything you say in my classroom. Crap, I just realized my teachers know everything about me. I'm a university professor. I know one of my students is named Lenny, or Larry.
Oh, hey, don't mind me. I'm just working hard on the next Dude Man video. Hey, by the way, if you want more awesome content like this, you should check that channel out. What you should. You should want to watch more awesome content. Then head on over to Dude Man. I'm Lunar Steve and I'm the host over there. go give it a look. I hope you like what you see.